Jean-Jacques here is the Cabildo, named for the Spanish government, which itself was called the Cabildo. It sort of meant city hall in our language today. And this is where the seat of the Spanish government was. In that building they spoke Spanish, but they complained to Madrid that when they walked out on the street down here in the French Quarter, they had to speak French. Beautiful Greek Revival type facade on the front of this, magnificent wrought iron work on the front of it. And if you walk into the museum, where there's a huge Louisiana exhibit, look out the back window into the courtyard, and there is the jail. Famous jail where Jean Lafitte, the pirate, Louisiana's infamous pirate, was jailed at one time. He made bail, got out, he skipped bail. Then his brother Pierre was caught. They put Pierre in the jail in there, and they would make no bail for him. Jean Lafitte got lawyers, he talked to the politicians, he tried to get word to the governor to get his sick brother out. Nothing would happen. All of a sudden one morning, Pierre Lafitte and two slaves who were in his cell with him were gone. Nobody ever could explain why. But in Louisiana, a little money will get something done.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. The Cabildo, isn't it the place where the documents were signed when Louisiana was transferred from France to the United States?
You're exactly right. Right here in a large room on the side here by St. Peter's Street was the cellular Cabildo. And there it was that the officials sat down for the final signing of the Louisiana Purchase. It was signed here, then the French flag came down in the square here, and the American flag went up, and the Louisiana Purchase was complete, 1803. This is where it took place. Okay. This building right here was originally built by Joseph Montalvo. He lived in Louisiana in the 1790s, back in the Spanish colonial period. It's a close recreation of the original structure, which was demolished and rebuilt in 1963. He built this building, then he made all his preparations, and he moved to Paris. And he then was knighted by none other than Napoleon Bonaparte, and he then bought a chateau and became a baron. But he is the one that built this building. Today, as you see, it is Le Petit Théâtre, where local plays and productions take place. Well, one of the stories that I like when I come here is a story about this awesome building back here. Are you familiar with Madame Montalvo?
I think she had quite an attitude.
She's one of New Orleans' great characters. It really began with her father, who was one of the Spanish officials who came out when the Spanish took over Louisiana. He was a notary, so he could see who had money on this hand and who had land on this hand, and who had land and wanted money and who had money and wanted land, and pretty soon he started trading for himself. Now, he always watched the papers to make sure that the king was getting his fair share, but he got in on the trading himself. In a period of about 15 years, he became one of the wealthiest men in the Spanish colony. He died about time of the Louisiana Purchase, and it was after that, his little girl, Michael Almanesta, grew up. She went to the Ursuline convent here in the French Quarter. She married, moved to France, where she was shot 3 times by her father-in-law, Joe Montalvo, for her money, divorced after several attempts. Then she wrote the mayor of New Orleans and she said, "I'm coming back to improve my father's properties." And she came back. She had a roll of plans under her arm. She laid them out. She hired an architect. She fired the first architect, got another architect, got a builder, and for $150,000, they built this building right here that you see behind me. And this building is really interesting. When you look at the gray stone at the bottom, that's not faux granite, that is real granite. It was all shipped from New England by Michael Almanesta Montalvo to build this building with. The beautiful red brick here, if you see, have been exposed to the sunshine for 150 years. It's different from the Louisiana-fired brick that disintegrates in sun and wind and rain. The other thing of interest to note is the cast iron on here. That was designed, we think, by her son. And if you'll notice in the middle of each panel, there is a medallion, and it has a stylized A for Almanesta and P for Montalvo.